see the live.
You can start it.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Very warm welcome to everybody who's joined us. Will be joining us very soon, and who are tuning into this second episode of the Sportscast, where we dive into the minds of individuals in the sports industry in India today. Today we have someone who I should say quite literally embodies Indian sports by being a national badminton player and who's also recently taken up badminton coaching. If I may add a little small pointer, she also coaches blind kids or blind people football, and obviously it takes a lot for one to be a coach, right? So, Reshma, thank you very much for being here, for joining us. Super cool to actually have you here as well. Yeah, so let's start off with how did you get into badminton? Is there was there like some very specific episode that happened that actually sparked your interest or something like that?
Yeah, firstly, thank you so much, Abhijit, for having me over, and thank you for the wonderful introduction you gave. So before I get into how I got into badminton, I'll just give you a gist about how I actually was introduced to sports. So I got into sports at a very early age of 7 or 8, and the main reason I got into sport was because of my mother. Her initial push actually got me into it. Probably she did it because the opportunity she didn't get as a kid. She thought that as her children, they probably had to make the best use of it. So I started off at a very early age, and back then, when my mother used to push me to these classes, I was not very interested. I was like, who will go, and was making a fuss at home. But to be honest, back then I was a foodie, I'm a typical South Indian, Abhijit, and I love my idli vada and sambar dip, and that's been important to me back then, and I feel it's still important to me. And that was something my mother realized very early on, and she, I feel, leveraged that to the fullest. And she was like, you attend these classes, and at the end of the day, I'll give you what you want. So it started off like that.
A
And it
trade
started
off.
off with,
Okay.
yeah. So it started off with swimming and karate. Actually, I was not into badminton at the start. So I used to do swimming and
Right.
karate like thrice a week, and the other days were free. So on the other day, she was like, "Okay, let's get her into some other sport," and that's how badminton happened. And I still remember, back then, asking her the question, "Why badminton?" Because I think it was about 2004 or 5 ish, and that time tennis was quite popular because of the likes of Sania
Right.
Mirza just setting in and just raising the bar of how tennis was played in India. I think I remember asking her, and she had a very Indian mother reply to it. She was like, Reshma, tennis is an outdoor sport. Why would you want to go and get tanned? And and back then it used to be the clay court. It was not the synthetic court which it is now. So
Okay.
she was like, why do you want to go and play in the dust and the heat? Badminton is in terms of tennis, it's much safer, it's cleaner, it's better to play badminton. So that's how it all started. And I think I did it for about 2 years. I was doing three sports at a time for 2 years.
Right.
And then I
Right.
reached a point where I had to make a decision as to which one sport, because it was getting too hectic and taxing for me to and my mother to do three sports at the same time. So
Right.
also the badminton coaching I shifted to another place was also happening on a regular everyday basis. So for me to rule out the other sports was pretty easy, because in swimming they literally used to throw me into the pool, into the deeper section of the pool, and they just fling the floater as a bait, and they keep pulling it till you reach the other end. So I was, to be honest, petrified by that. And it was more, swimming was more of like a bugbear to me back then. But one thing was made clear, that you had to learn swimming no matter what, because it's a life saving skill, and I had to learn it. So once I learned that, I was easily able to get rid of it. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I can't do swimming anymore for sure. And because badminton became on an everyday basis, my mother somehow convinced the karate teacher, my sensei back then, that let put her in the morning batch and let her start doing karate in the morning. But unfortunately, in the morning it was only the adult batch, and then I was like about 10 years old. Me and my brother used to go there, and we had people who were about 10, 15 years older to me. And I remember I was made like this defensive sparring bot there. I was given like a shield. I don't know what you call it, but like a padding where you block all the punches and the kicks that they throw at you. And to be honest, it was very tough, because they're constantly kicking you. How long can you defend? And eventually, I would, just keep running away from them, and it used to just just be some running session rather than a sparring or a fighting session. So it was pretty easy. I mean, then I was like, I'm not made for a sport which requires a lot of aggression and fighting. I can't do this, and somehow I got rid of that. And in terms of safety and less harm to causing less harm to myself, I felt badminton was the sport I should pursue and continue, and that's how it all started. And initially it was my mother's push which got me to a certain level, and once I started seeing the benefits and reaping the benefits that all the hard work that she had put in, that motivation, that self interest, it started developing within me, and I was more motivated. I was more keen on doing those sessions and actually pursuing the sport from there on. And then yeah, and eventually I started playing well. I started winning some all indias. Then eventually I went on to play for
Right.
India. I became the India number one in the women's singles category, and I also reached a highest
Wow.
world ranking in
Right.
PT2. Yeah, so that's how the
Okay.
whole journey started and how it panned out to be.
Okay, so that is super cool, super fascinating. It seems to me, at least, that you've taken some of the bits of karate and swimming and put it into your badminton as well. I know. I mean, so what was the experience? What was the experience actually? You mentioned that it was very difficult to keep blocking all the time, but how did that actually shape your badminton career? Getting into many sports and then eventually zeroing in on badminton.
See, any sport lays a foundation for the other. No, so
Yeah,
karate
right.
actually helped me in the reflexes I was able to imbibe in badminton. So you're constantly moving, you're dodging, and then wherever you seek the opportunity, you throw a punch or a kick. So in terms of that, karate
Okay,
helped me, and swimming, of course, it gives you the stamina, the endurance. It also helps you grow taller. So all those aspects of both the sports that I did just churned out well for me to choose badminton and pursue that sport.
okay, that's amazing, very fascinating, and I'm very curious if any young sports people are actually listening to what you said. It takes three sports to be great at one, right? So, so you mentioned about the benefits of badminton. You played for a couple of years. You played many sports. Your mom pushed you into it, and you mentioned that you started to see the benefits. What
Hmm.
exactly were the benefits that you started to see apart from say winning competitions and things? How did it build you as a person?
See, playing badminton as a sport has a lot of benefits, because it's such a focus driven sport. Your concentration
Right.
just improves on its own because you're constantly looking at the shuttle for, an hour or so. And actually it helps you yeah, it actually, playing badminton helped me in my studies as well. Because I used to have like a
Okay.
crunch schedule and I used to just get a short time to do my studies, and I was able to do that because I was able to have that focus, and that grasping ability was higher because I was playing badminton. And also badminton, when you compare it with other sports, you don't you have to play it before the shuttle pitches. So all the decisions you
Right.
make have to be a lot more faster. So it makes you, I
Right.
feel, this is my belief, and it makes you more decisive. Your decision making skills get better, and your overall,
Right.
it helps improving your mental makeup is what I feel, and how the sport has helped me. And it not only helps you while playing badminton, but in other aspects of life as well. So yeah, that's pretty much.
Right. Okay. So you spoke about decision making. Obviously the shuttle, if it hits the ground, obviously you lose a point, right?
Hmm.
So let's say that today, you are involved in a lot of things. You do a lot of things in the sports industry. You even coach badminton as well. How do you imbibe this kind of a decision making into somebody, or rather, how do you imbibe them to take quick quick decisions, fast decisions? How do you how is that how do you imbibe that in somebody?
So I think the best way, what I've learned from my coaches and my peers, is actually allowing them to make those decisions, learn from their mistakes, so that when you are telling them something, it's a lot more easier for them to actually compare and assess and actually understand like what you're saying is right and what they are doing is actually not the right thing, or it could be the right thing in some cases. So I think in terms of that, badminton gives you that liberty. Like you learn, you play,
Right.
and then you record yourself and you watch, and you can accordingly change the decisions in terms of where you place the shuttle accordingly. I think that's something I
Right.
think
Okay.
is
So
also.
now let's move into the accomplishments that you've done. You've reached the number one in India, if I remember you said correctly, and you also
Yeah.
reached number 82 in the world. So
Yes.
obviously you have a very clear drive. Something like drove you. It takes an incredible amount of hard work because I played tennis, and
Okay.
I've never reached any of those kind of rankings in my entire life. I have played for Karnataka, but I've never reached those kind of rankings. So, what
Okay.
was, if you were to name three things that actually drove you, that things that drive you to actually want to be the best, or say the way Michael Jordan or somebody thinks about it, right? What are the three things that you think actually can motivate people to try to be the best in the sport that they pick?
I think the three things, I can keep it very short. I mean, my former coach told me three things, and that's Prakash Padkon. There
Okay,
are three D's to success. That's dedication, determination, and discipline. I think you imbibe those three things in your life, and I think you can achieve anything. So those experiences, and of course the interactions you have with these coaches, and also looking at your seniors doing so well at sport. So when I was playing sport, and I was trying to be better at the game I was playing, I was looking up to the likes of Saina Nehwal, and she was herself doing so well. And when you have these role models who are paving the path for a sport like badminton, you feel all the more motivated, and you feel all the more you know that drive, that thrive to actually do well in the sport. And when you're getting coached by people who've achieved a lot themselves, I think you can't ask for anything more. And also one of the main reasons was I was not interested in studying, to be honest. This was all a getaway reason for me to continue playing professional sport.
right. Obviously, so that getting away from studies is what actually motivates people towards sports. That's something I've also. I think even Rahul Dravid, if I remember right, he mentioned that. He said if Bits Pilani saw my physics, chemistry, and maths marks, they would immediately turn me away and throw me out of Bits. Which I completely understand, embody it with all I can. But I just want to pick up on something very interesting that you mentioned. You said
Hmm.
you saw people like Saina, you saw people like Mr. Prakash Padukone as well. You saw these people and you saw them day in, day out. How important is it to surround yourself with the right kind of people? Because that's I think there's people talk about you are the average of five people that you hang around with, da 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 da. But you've clearly surrounded yourself with the right people. And what are the one or two things that you've got from surrounding yourself with these kind of high performance people?
I think the most important thing is the positivity you get from these people, or the people whom you surround yourself. Because sport is a very high pressure situation, a high pressure thing that happens in one's life. And surrounding yourself with, and of course you fail more than you win. So surrounding yourself
Right,
with the positivity, with positive people who are actually in your interest of you getting better, not in the interest of probably you failing and not doing well. So when you surround yourself with people who are actually like minded and want to do well in the sport, I think the your game as well as the people whom you're surrounded with, everyone improves. Rather than you improving individually, if I feel it's better to improve as a team. So I think that
right,
that that positivity is very important when you're choosing the people whom you train with, and also the people who you want to share your company with.
right. Okay, great. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls who are actually listening to this, pick and choose your friends very wisely. That's so important. But Reshma, you were talking about Saina and Prakash Padukone and obviously PV Sindhu and I think a few others, Jwala Gutta and all of these people have actually brought a lot of glory. Uh, Brought a lot of glory. Have you played against any of these people? I'm sure you have.
I've played, so I'm a singles player. So I've played against PV Sindhu. I played her in an under 17 All India. So I lost, but I picked up about 11 or 12 points out of a 21 setter. Yeah, I've played
Okay,
Sindhu
that's an achievement in itself.
yeah, I've played Sindhu in a tournament, but Saina I've never got the opportunity to play. But of course, once Saina was in the Prakash Padukone Academy for a brief time in Bangalore, I got the opportunity to play with her and to just feed her and things like that. Yeah, but I've not played a competitive match against Saina.
Right. Just take
Yeah.
us through the experience. What was the experience like playing with Sindhu Saina? And obviously, it's a dream for many young shuttlers today. So just take us through the experience of playing with them.
I think the experience was amazing. The way these guys play, this with so much seriousness and dedication. After achieving so much, they just give their best on the court. When it comes to their practices, they're so determined, they're so disciplined. They come on time and they leave on time, and they make sure that how much of a time they
Right,
are investing on the court. It's of probably they given their probably 110%. So the quality of the play is very important when once you reach
right,
that level. It's not the quantity, it comes down to the quality. The shorter the sessions, but the more intense and the more quality you're able to achieve. I think that's something I learned after playing with these greats.
right. That is just very cool. It's a bucket list thing for a lot of people to be on the same court. For me, when I was growing up, it was playing Roger Federer, but yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. Um, so these days, Reshma, you coach badminton,
Mm.
right? You
Yeah.
coach people and you take classes in the Kormangla club, if I recall correctly, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What is your coaching philosophy? What is it that is it something that you learned from Prakash Padukone, or is it something that or do you have your own style of coaching?
Yeah, of course. My coaching philosophy is a mixture of everything. I try to, impart whatever I've learned from
Right,
my coaches and of my understanding of what coaching is at the moment. So I don't just throw my opinions or my decisions on the students. I give them their time. I give them time to actually understand, assess the situation, and weigh the options out, weigh what I am saying, and probably weigh what they feel, because kids these days are very smart. They're not like us probably back then. We would be petrified by
right,
our coaches
right,
and we would just agree to whatever they said. They're not like that. They question you and then they keep on questioning. So I've understood that
right,
that it's better to just allow them to do what they're doing, and if they feel that what you're saying makes actually sense to them, then they quickly change and they actually accept the fact that what you're saying is right.
right,
So yeah, so
right.
I've given them that leverage to actually understand, assess, and then make their decisions accordingly.
Right. Okay. Now, while coaching badminton is
Hmm.
something, it's something that comes naturally to you. I also came across something on Instagram, where I actually saw like a picture of you with a goalpost behind, and with a few blind children, I think, if I remember correctly. Um, so, what does it feel like to coach blind kids football?
So yeah, so actually this has a very interesting story to it. It goes back to
Okay,
2019, where I was actually volunteering with an NGO called Enable India. So that actually happened.
okay,
This whole blind football thing, to be honest, happened by chance. It was not something I was looking at or looking into doing it. So
right,
I was
right,
volunteering at that NGO, and then somehow I got in touch with a few people. They realized that
right,
I'm a professional badminton player, and I got in touch with Sunil Matthew. He's the coach of the Indian blind football men's team. So he
right,
invited me
right,
for a seminar back then, and that time I was like, okay, like I didn't, and it was over a weekend, so I didn't have any
right,
practice or any weekend plans as such. So I was like,
right,
let's go. And I had some friends back at Kerala, so it was happening in Kerala. So I was like, let's go, just have like an ad hoc plan, and I'll get to meet my friends and I'll finish the seminar as well. So it was like,
Right.
hitting
Right.
two birds with one stone. So I was like, I went with a very blank mind there, and I actually, to be honest, came with a blank mind. I didn't learn anything as such. I was like, I just went there. I was like, okay, whatever they were teaching, I was like, okay, fine, fine, fine. And then I just
Right.
came back with an empty mind. And actually, how it all started was back in 2020, the December of last year. I got a call from Sunil sir saying that there are a group of blind footballers in Bangalore.
Mhm.
See you how
Right.
you can help them out and however way you can. So that's how it all started. And right now I'm at this phase where I'm experimenting, and this exploratory phase I am in. So I was open to anything that was coming by my way. So I was like, okay,
Right.
let's try this out, let's give it a try, and let's see how it goes. So then I started at
Right.
the end of Jan. I started to go and coach, and Abhijit, I don't even watch football. I hate watching football. I hate the sport, to be honest. So, and one thing I made it very clear with the blind footballers, with the students over there, that it has to be a two-way thing. I don't understand the sport nor the coaching aspect of sport, but what I can offer is the external help, and I'll mainly be your eyes on the field. So getting those aspects very straight to them actually helped us both, because they were help. They
Right.
knew that how they could contribute, and I knew how I could contribute. So it all started off there, and I was in talks with another guy who actually played for India in blind football. So we were
Okay.
like,
Okay.
let's continue to do what we are doing, but let's just get it registered and let's just formalize things, so that in the future, if someone approaches us to probably sponsor or things like that, it will be a lot more easy. So then we
Right.
got ourselves registered. We formed a trust. We got ourselves registered in the end of Feb, and we gave it a name, and we call it the Tamogna Blind Football Federation. So Tamogna is basically a Sanskrit word that means breaking through the darkness. So they came up with the name,
Wow. Okay.
and after form, yeah, a very interesting name. And after we formed the trust, we went to again Kerala, where the first ever blind football women's demo match was conducted. We presented ourselves and we did fairly well, and I'm really happy with the
Right.
way the girls performed. And yeah, that's pretty much how it's panned out. And right now we have about 20 students whom we train, the
Okay.
blind football students. And the main mission of this trust is, to get every blind person in India to play sport, because to be honest, sport is equal for all. Everyone should get their fair chance.
Absolutely.
And the vision of the trust in the years to come is mainly to get a strong foothold of blind football in India, and use this
Right.
as probably as a precedence to get into other sports, because I have a badminton background, maybe blind badminton in the years to come, or skating or things like that. So yeah, that's mainly what we
Right.
intend to do in the times to come. Yeah.
Right. But I just want to pick up on one very, very interesting thing you said. So you're not a football
Mm.
person. Quite clearly, you're not a football person. So your
Yes.
role essentially with this, with Tamogna, I hope I've got the name right,
Yeah, yeah, it's right. It's
is
right.
is essentially more on the mental side of things rather than actually teach them the sport. If have I got that accurately? Your
Yeah, yeah.
aspect is more on the mental side, right? So
Yeah, the
what is
mental
so
aspect and
right? Go
yeah,
on,
you
yeah,
go on. Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah. So
So no, what I meant
basically,
was
yeah.
yeah,
Okay, go on.
no, it's your time to talk. Yeah,
Yeah, so basically, my role there is to be their eyes on the field. Any mistakes, I do understand a bit basic football. I played basic football myself. So
sure.
it's basically, just to understand and make sure that what mistakes they are making, because the coaching drills and all that, those guys decide for themselves, because they have played the sport for a long time now. So my role there is just to be their eyes on the field, and just to make sure that what mistakes they're doing, and they explain that to me, and then they want me to make sure that the respective player is able to enforce and do
Right.
that accordingly.
Right. Okay. Okay. That is super cool, actually. So, and really amazing the kind of stuff that you're doing. So, today we actually live in an India which is actually opening up in terms of industries as well. And the sports industry has actually, taken up a lot of importance in recent times. And I think when we spoke over the phone, I think I mentioned to you, nothing brings people together like sport. right? So, so also you mentioned to me some of the stuff that you're doing. You're studying sports management and things like that. What according to you are the opportunities that are there in sports for young people today? Obviously, it's a developing industry. So, what would you say are the opportunities available at this point in time?
So Abhi, there are a lot of opportunities, and actually, it was an eye opener for me, to be honest. After I got into this course
Right,
that I'm doing, my post graduation in sports management from IIM Rohtak. So it's after
right,
getting into this course, I've actually understood there are a lot more opportunities other than being a professional athlete or sports coaching for that matter. There's so many verticals that sports offers. There's sponsorships, there's marketing, there's you can become a sports agent, which is a very lucrative business at this point. And there's the sports
right,
medicine also, and the sports science. There are so many things, but the most important thing I feel, Abhijit, here is you need to understand your skills and you need to hone your skills accordingly, so that what you can offer to the sports industry. There are a lot of things that sport has as an industry itself.
right,
It's the most important thing here is understanding what you can offer to the industry. So that is something
right,
I think is very important. And the matter of fact is, as I can speak because I've been a professional athlete, you know there is a handful of players who actually make it big. I mean, you have the likes of Saina, Sindhu, Virat Kohli. Like, it's just a handful of
right,
people that are there out there. But what
right,
do
right,
the 90 or the 95% of athletes do? So I think I just have one advice which I have realized, once I've stopped playing professional badminton is, while you're a budding athlete, or while you're in the process of being a professional athlete, it's very important that you understand the intricacies sports has, and understanding the verticals which you can be
right,
interested or intrigued in, and doing working that
right,
side by side as being an athlete. And being a professional athlete, of course, it's time consuming and it's tough, but even if you can chip in a few hours in a week, I think that will be helpful, because eventually your career as an athlete, there'll be some point where you'll have to hang your boots and call just
right,
call it a day. So and
right,
once you reach that, what plan or what step are you going to actually get into? So understanding that, and for you to plan that, it's better to start early, so that once you reach a stage where
right.
you have to take the plunge into your career post retirement, it will be a lot more easier. You'll be a lot more prepared, and the taking the leap of faith is much more easier, I feel.
Right. Okay. That is, yeah, that is great. Great that you're actually pursuing this, and great that you're actually managing to give back to sport even after, finishing up with your professional career. I just want to end with one thing. What is the one thing that you would like to, or rather, one piece of advice that you would like to give athletes who are pursuing badminton today?
I think the one piece of advice, I think it's an amazing sport to play. Firstly, it's very competitive, it's fun, and it's a very lucrative sport to be a part in as well, because of this whole, IPL, the league system model. There's a lot of money that's being pumped into the sport, and I think looking at it from a career perspective, with the likes of what Saina, Sindhu have actually made out of the sport, I think it has a lot of opportunity for players who are actually looking at it from a career perspective.
Right. Okay. So, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, there you have it. Reshma Karthik, fantastic. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. It was super fun having you. And we will be back the next week with another person from the sports space. Until then, stay cool, stay safe, and always watch sports. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abhijit, for having me over. Thank you so much.
Yeah.